Hey, Nation. This is a special podcast, webinar, interview, whatever you want to call it. I'm with Ravi and David, and they have some breaking news. MSP Corp raises $35 million of growth capital to accelerate acquisitions. I want to talk about that. It seems like a mega trend. So first of all, gentlemen, if you could briefly introduce yourself, your company, what your role is, give me a little context, and we'll just have a conversation.
Sure, Dave, I can go first if you want. So Ravi Ramrak, one of the co-founders of MSP Corp, and at the company, my main role is focused on M&A, so mergers and acquisitions. So that's everything from the lead generation to closing the actual deal to working with the operator post-close. We started the company back in January 2020. We had our first round of funding then through CIBC, which is a national bank in Canada. And here we are today talking to you. My background in the space is actually as an original break fix guy working for David when I was 18 years old. Yeah. And then over the time, that kind of turned into an MSP. I sold off a part of it in 2015, kept 4 clients, and then I kind of kept those clients going. And then late 2019, I met Jason. He gave me the pitch to do MSP Corp and said, the space is booming, lots of capital. And lo and behold, here we are today. And then David has I think a more fun story, so I'll let him go.
Over to you, David.
So I'm David Papp. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for MSP Corp and help manage from a technology perspective what our portfolio of sub-companies look like, all the partners and the operators and whatnot. But I am very heavily involved right now in some integration projects and making sure the teams are working together cohesively and that we have a standardized IT tool stack. And we're also working on a big ERP system that we're putting in place as well. So there's a lot of things that are getting in motion to get everything working and humming along like a great engine. My background, I've been an entrepreneur my entire life, never actually worked for anybody. I had my first company when I was 14, working on old computers and stuff. I've been in the space for well over 30 years. I'm a professional engineer in computer engineering is my background. But I always jokingly say that doesn't really mean anything. It's just a credential. Honestly, it comes down to experience in the space, right? And, back in the 90s and in the 2000s, I was CTO of another public company. Have played with a lot of startups, had a lot of fun, did what we call the MSP thing before it was called an MSP in the day. Well, we had things like application service providers, ASPs, and then we got into software as a service, and we morphed into all these things over time. And honestly, had a lot of fun. What I noticed though, and this is the kind of the core of our belief, is it all came down to monthly recurring revenue. And so what happened is back in the day, a lot of people were focused, I feel, on this whale harpoon gun mentality of going after the big deal and selling big projects and wasting lots of cycles. And that's why people kind of fizzled up. And then when Ravi and I started working in the early 2000s, I'm telling you, it was awesome. Like we this MRR thing was the way. It's companies that couldn't afford to have their own full-time tech person on staff, or if they did, they needed an augmentation because that person couldn't possibly know everything. So we built on that and built out an amazing client base. And then Ravi was like this, go-getter. Like he was like the Energizer bunny. And I'm telling you, so what I ended up doing a deal back then, and I sold him that part of my business, and he ran with it and grew it into like crazy huge clients that we have today that honestly have been rolled back in. And we complete the circle. We're back into this MSP Corp with all of these companies. We still have those original clients that are amazing, along with all this other revenue. And it's all focused on bottom line. I'm sure Ravi will agree on that. Like we want monthly recurring support clients, managed services that we provide to clients. And ideally, we want it to be in the cloud. And that's the difference between us and other traditional IT companies is they're still focusing on what I call legacy services, legacy infrastructure, single point of failure. There's no expandability, no collaboration. Like seriously, who's still using POP and IMAP email accounts? You should be using 365. Yeah. You should be using the Google Workplaces. Like this is dumb stuff, but really this is our philosophy. We want to get our clients into where they should be because their businesses will run better. Anyways, I don't want to rant on about this too much, but we're very passionate.
It's probably a follow-up podcast. So Jenny, if you could make a note. No, it is. Jenny, if you could make a note, let's talk to these gentlemen first a year. We were talking offline how fast the year is going. So let's all just catch our breath and we'll follow up on that. But Ravi, how is your company different from other companies already doing the same thing?
So I think the fundamental difference, and this is my opinion, so there's essentially three people in the industry. You've got your traditional private equity firm, you've got your large cap IT kind of MSP, and then you have like a couple players like us that are essentially operators rolling up partners into a larger group. So I like to say that we're like family in that our main focus is on acquisition across the spectrum, whereas traditional private equity's main focus is on return of equity, right? You've got partners, they probably have an MBA from Harvard. Their job is to take $1 billion, allocate it 20 ways, and get a return on their capital. Ours is different, in my opinion, because we did the groundwork. Like David can tell you this, like I'm the guy who was up at 3 a.m. wiring a server because the hard drive blew out in a RAID config. You ask that to anybody pretty much in finance, and it's like, not going to happen. Right. And so I think that's the main differential is that because we worked at the ground first, we understand the operator, we understand the culture. And for us, the big like goal of all of this is autonomy. Like I want people to have a way to exit their business without having to worry about, is their staff going to be fired? Are their clients going to be taken care of? Do the operators understand insurance, cybersecurity, the big like things that are currently hurting MSPs right now? So I think like in a nutshell, that's what makes us different is that we're operators acquiring other operators.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the big play with us. Like we're like, as of right now, we're the biggest operator acquiring operators. There's really nobody else. Again, and I say that in context of we keep them independent. We don't roll them in. So there's obviously, again, three different types: private equity, the roll-in type, and then us that keeps them independent.
Well, and you've kind of answered. I had a couple questions, but let me say them, and then maybe you can bring it from a different perspective. So what I'm hearing is you don't consider yourself a private equity firm, and you're not doing the traditional roll-up play where you flip them.
Correct. I think that
basically just said that, but
you nailed it. Our master vision is to have a network in every province, every state, so that you can, one, bid across all your deals, two, have massive buying power, and you could consider us like a gigantic peer group of companies. That's the master vision.
Yeah, that's interesting because another conversation I had many, many years ago was, did we want to think in terms of like a groovy co-op? If you think of cooperatives, very, very common in agriculture with electricity. Right. And so those were always more friendly, right? I'm not sure you would say private equity people are the friendliest people.
You know what? There are some great guys in private equity that we actually know, and I'm sure they're going to probably watch this because we're on it. But I think for us, again, the big difference is we are real operators. We're not trying to pretend. You're not selling to a random company. Like if you told me tomorrow to go fix the Unix server or a Cisco router or the Exchange servers down, I can actually fix it. So can David. And that's a big fundamental difference there.
Yeah. Hey, final question.
I was just going to say, David, there is a disconnect in the industry. And Ravi noticed it all the time when we're talking to people where they're purely finance. They see the numbers, but they don't understand what the numbers mean, and they don't understand how to work for it. They see a bottom line. They see expenses and revenue. Ravi and I get it. We can talk to the operators at their level, feel their pain, help them with migrations, help them with growth. We can even coach people before we acquire them on what we're looking for and how to make their company, their package ready for us to acquire them. So we're willing to mentor and coach people along the way as well. If the deal doesn't make sense now, it might make sense in 12 months from now.
Yeah, I've always felt that.
Yeah.
Hey, final question, lightning round. What are the actual services and solutions you provide to your partners?
So I think the main service solution right now is like insurance, software purchasing aggregating, hardware aggregating. I'll give you a good linear example of that. like we're like a master Pax 8 MSP, and then all our MSPs underneath that. So
Yeah.
as we group that up, we all get a better discount. So what's coming down the pipe is a lot, though, from accounting back end, which everybody hates. So that's something that we're working on. Master cybersecurity services and insurance, because my belief is that 3 years from now, if you're like a 20-man MSP, you're not going to be able to get insured, because the insurance companies, if you look in the US, they're walking away right now. So it's happening.
Yeah. In fact, that's I'm going to write that down, Ravi, because a little later today, I'm going to record my Q3 report. And I was going to touch on M&A, but the insurance thing, your spot. Thank you for helping me pick a topic for my Q3 podcast.
There's also a couple other areas I'd like to touch on. I think where we also provide value is unified tool stack. So a lot of our operators were noticing that they're missing out on what Ravi has pointed out on the cybersecurity side, and there's some things that they need to put in place. But let's face it, a lot of people are stuck in their box. They only can operate. They're being, a lot of cases, they might be reactive instead of proactive. We can help them with that. We can help standardize and stuff. And then the other element that's going to be massive is the HR component. Yeah. And what I mean by that is, we're talking about skill sets, matrix across the companies, recognizing if there's a deficiency for something like a CIO position or somebody, or CISO amongst the companies. And then maybe we go and hire somebody at head office level and rent the person out, to the partners, as an example, or make them aware. Or maybe somebody's getting burnt out or doesn't fit within one of our partner network companies, and we want to slide them across to another opportunity elsewhere because they got a great skill set, or that kind of stuff, or education, all of that stuff. Like, we're going to have a lot of fun with this.
Yeah. Final thoughts, Ravi? Do you have any final thoughts? I have one more comment, and we'll take us out.
I think the whole point, just to wrap it all together, is that we're a family, and that end of the day, all the services and solutions we provide are to help our family. That's the core thought.
Yeah, and Dave, I'll end on this about having an HR function. I really like that, because you guys have, what we say, carried the bag, right? You've been feet on the street and carried the bag. And what I've seen with private equity deals is they bring in their own team. Here comes who's your buddy, who's your pal? Hey, go over there and be the CMO. And they don't know the MSP business, right? You see it all the time.
Right. Totally. Every time.
So true.
Yeah.
So, all right, gentlemen, we're good to talk after the first of the year. Have a great fourth quarter. Sounds like it's going to be a busy one. And thanks for talking to us.
Thanks very much.
Anytime. Love it. Thanks.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.